At some point as saxophone players, we are all faced with the terrible question, am I the problem or is my saxophone broken? Today, I'm going to show you 5 signs that your saxophone is broken, and I'll also give you a couple easy fixes so that you can repair your sax yourself without having to take it to a repair shop. The saxophone has a whole bunch of moving parts. We're not like a trumpet that just has like 3 valves and a bunch of stuff going on. We have rods and springs and screws and keys and all kinds of stuff that can break or go wrong or get stuck open or stuck closed. There are so many different things that can go wrong with your saxophone. So today I'm going to show you a couple things to look at when you are having problems playing your saxophone. The first thing that every single saxophone player deals with is a sticky key. So if you are playing a note and you finger a different note and the note doesn't change, that means that your key is sticking. And on the saxophone, it is really common to have a sticky G sharp and a sticky C sharp. Those are both really easy to fix if you know where to look. So the first thing you're going to do is finger a G and then push the G sharp key. If your G sharp key does not open, that means it is sticking. So you'll know right away, because when you play a G and you finger the G sharp, you will still be playing a G. When your G sharp key is sticking, sometimes it's just as simple as pressing the G sharp key and flicking that key, that pad open. It will release the little bit of gunk that is on the pad that is sticking to the tone hole, and then you will be back in business. Oftentimes though, it will remain sticky and you need to remove the gunk that is on the tone hole. You want to make sure that you have some type of microfiber cloth that is made for the saxophone, specifically for sticky keys, that you can use to clean up the pad and the tone hole. This one is from BG France. I've been using this one for a while. These are great. I love these. Key Leaves makes one. I think it's called the Spit Sponge. There are a couple others out there too, but I recommend the BG France microfiber. And all you do is open up the G sharp key, stick the microfiber in there, press the G sharp key. You can't really see. Here we go. Pull it out. Do that a couple times. A lot of times you're going to see some gunk on the pad, on the cloth. When that happens, you can just wash this cloth or buy another one, but you are going to want to have one of these in your case. Now, you will hear people say that you can use a dollar bill or cigarette paper or some other stuff like that. That will work in a pinch, but especially with the dollar bill, you don't want to put that in your saxophone because you have no idea where the dollar has been. So you want something clean that is going into your saxophone to clean off the gunk on the pad and the tone hole. Now, this is also very common on your C sharp right here. This one sticks a lot. Your E flat and your C stick also, but if you just apply some pressure, those will open. With these, they have springs, so if you do not keep them clean, they will not open. Another common mechanical malfunction on the saxophone that is super easy to fix is when several notes in a row on your saxophone don't work. When that happens, chances are one of the springs on your saxophone has come undone. And when that happens, all of the notes below that note will no longer work correctly. So you have springs all up and down your saxophone that are either keeping keys closed or keeping keys open. So when one of those comes off, it's going to mess up everything around it. Now, it's a super easy fix. All you have to do is find the spring that is off and put it back on. Now, that might take a little screwdriver to kind of maneuver it into the right spot, but once you get the spring back on the little post, then you're going to be back in business. So this is what it sounds like when a spring comes off. As you can hear, none of the notes are working, and that is because the spring that is off is this one up at the top. So everything below this key, you can see that it doesn't spring back when I move it. Because of that, everything below that key is going to leak, and you're not going to get those notes to sound. So if you have a whole bunch of notes in a row that are not coming out, check for springs, put the spring back on, and then your saxophone will be working again with no problems at all. Have you experienced any of these saxophone malfunctions or had something different that I didn't mention in this video? If so, leave me a comment below, especially if it's something that I didn't mention. There are going to be a lot of saxophone players who read these comments, so you might be able to help them out in solving what the problem is with their saxophone. If you feel an extra vibration on your saxophone when you're playing, especially if it's on just 1 or 2 notes, chances are you have a loose screw on one of the key guards. So your key guards have screws on them, and if they get a little bit loose, you will get what is called a sympathetic vibration. A sympathetic vibration happens when you play a note that is a specific frequency, and then the thing that is loose, the screw that is loose, whatever is loose, it might also vibrate at that frequency. Everything vibrates at a frequency, and when you hit that vibration, that thing is going to have a sympathetic vibration. You might have noticed that, like if you're playing in a room with a piano, sometimes the piano notes will play when you play a certain note. Or if you have a metal garbage can, the metal garbage can will make some sound when you play a certain note. Everything vibrates, and there are sympathetic vibrations. When you play a specific pitch, it might make something vibrate. So if you have a loose screw and, like, for example, you play a high A and then you feel this weird vibration, that means you probably have a loose screw on one of your key guards. So the way to fix that is first look at your key guards and see if anything is loose. If it is, tighten it up. That's a really easy fix, but usually it's not quite that easy. Sometimes you have to feel around on your saxophone to find the vibration. It might be one of the posts, or it could be all different kinds of stuff. So you're going to play whatever note you play when you feel the sympathetic vibration, and then just take your hand and touch the saxophone all around to see if you can get the vibration to stop. Once you get it to stop, that means whatever you touched was causing the vibration. So kind of see if there are any loose screws or anything that would be causing that. That also happens when something comes unsoldered. That's happened to me before, where a post has become unsoldered or something like that, and then I get a vibration because of that. Now, you don't want to go around tightening every screw on your saxophone because some of them are adjustment screws. For example, here, you do not want to mess with those at all. But if you have a sympathetic vibration, you want to first check your key guards, then play that note and feel around on your sax and see if you can figure out where the vibration is coming from. That might take an extra set of hands because you might have to play an E, for example, to get the sympathetic vibration. And obviously you can't touch your saxophone when you're playing an E. If you are watching a video on broken saxophones, then chances are you are a saxophone player. If that's the case, then I'd like to invite you to come check me out at the Scott Paddock Sax School. In my sax school, I have courses dedicated to just about anything you want to learn on the saxophone. So whether you want to learn how to personalize melodies, start your improv journey, or just get a whole lot better at improv, learn scales, technique, theory, all that kinds of stuff, I have it all in my sax school. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stop by the sax school. I will put a link in the video description below. Another very common saxophone malfunction, which just happened to one of my students in the sax school. They sent me a video saying, hey, I don't know what's going on. Every time I play below a high octave G and down, everything sounds really raspy and crazy. And as soon as they said that, I knew it was most likely the octave mechanism. So when you push your octave key, you actually have two things that will open. When you're playing a high A and above, the regular octave key on your neck will open up. When you hit a G, you have a second octave key, which is right here. It's kind of hidden. This one closes, that one closes, and this one opens up. This one kind of gets stuck every now and then, especially if you haven't played for a little while. So if this one gets stuck, what you want to do is you want to finger a high G. If this little pad doesn't open up, then you want to take your finger and flick it open. Once it flicks open, it's going to stay open. If you have a problem with it, again, you can use your microfiber to clean it. But that's a pretty common thing. Oftentimes it'll pop open on its own. You won't even really realize it. But if you get a really raspy sound from your high G down to your middle D, and it sounds like both octaves are trying to play at the same time, it's because your second octave key is not opening up. And the last very common saxophone malfunction is when your low notes sound gargly. This happens to everyone at some point. When your low notes sound gargly, this is generally not something you can fix on your own. That means you have some leaks in your saxophone and they are presenting themselves with the low notes. So that doesn't necessarily mean that your low notes are leaking. It could be way higher up in the sax. Most likely it is, and most likely you have a couple different leaks. But as the air travels through the saxophone, when you get to the low notes, if you are leaking air, you're not going to have enough air going all the way through the saxophone. So your saxophone freaks out and starts making gargly sounds. So if you have gargly low notes, there's a really good chance that you have some leaks in your saxophone. Now there is one thing to take into consideration with gargly low notes, and that is your reed. If you have a stiff reed, that could also be causing gargly, distorted low notes. So switch your reed, see if you still have those same low notes. Try to put on a softer reed, see if that helps. If you change your reed and you're still getting the same gargly notes, chances are it is a leak. When your saxophone has some leaks, you're going to want to take it to the repair shop. That is not something that you can fix on your own. As far as a regular repair on your saxophone, I always recommend going once a year just to get it looked over, no matter whether it feels good or not. If you haven't had your saxophone in the shop for a year and you practice on a regular basis, there is going to be a little bit of maintenance that your repair tech is going to do on your saxophone that's going to make it play a whole lot better. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. If you'd like to dive deeper into my saxophone world, come check me out at the Scott Paddock Sax School.